Okay, panagdaig students, this is a continuation for your lesson no sa ato ang um, sum and difference identities no. Karon we'll tackle about double angle and half angle identities. So what are these identities, DI? So these identities are um, mainly for cosine, sine, and also for um, tangent no. So for sine, you have sine of 2a is equal to 2 times the sine of a multiplied by the cosine of a. Next is cosine of 2a is equal to cosine squared of a minus sine squared of a. And we also have other double angle identities for cosine, which is cosine of 2a is equal to 2 times the cosine squared of a minus 1. And then cosine of 2a minus is equal to 1 minus 2 times the sine squared a. So, muna siya itong identities mainly, no? So, let's have an example. We have there given the sine of t is equal to 3 over 5 and t is greater than pi over 2 but less than pi. So, we are asked to find the double angle of t for sine and cosine, no? So, we will just remember no or take note sa ato ang condition dari nga ang t daw is greater than pi over 2 but less than pi. So, unsa atong basihanan ana? So, we'll go back sa atong unit circle, no? So, sa atong unit circle, muna siya atong unit circle, di ba? Remember na to, i-recall na to atong quadrantal angles, no? Atong quadrantal angles are the angles that are placed in between quadrants. So, muna siya kaning four ka-lines, no? So, muna siya kaning four ka-lines. So, these are first 0, 90, 180, 270, and 360. So, muna siyang full rotation sa itong circle, no? From 0 up until 360. So, gaad-ad lang kag 90 ana niya for each quadrant. So, now, ang atong pi over 2 ug pi ato sa i-locate. So, itong pi over 2 is 90 degrees man. So, naa siya diri, no? Sa top or sa north if buti nga na nato siya direction, no? So, muna siya atong pi over 2. And then atong pi is kaning 180. So, since ang condition nga gihatag sa ato ang um, example dari is t is greater than pi over 2, so it is greater than 90, but it is less than 180. So, it is in between 90 and 180. So, this means the angle sits in quadrant 2. Okay? Nasa sa quadrant 2, no? Okay, so, muna na siya. Nanatay hint, anak niya, nga nasa sa quadrant 2. Next is, ato na din siyang gamitan og kaning, what you call this? Pythagorean identity, no? So, itong Pythagorean identity will just be like this, no? Since, um, atong Pythagorean identity is cosine squared plus sine squared is equal to 1 raman na siya. So, ato siyang ibutang sa clearer nga, ano. So, natay cosine squared plus sine squared is equal to 1. So, daara ra siya nakalocate, no? So, since ang given na to diari is atong gipangita is cosine of t pamandaan. Okay, ang cosine. So, we will solve for cosine. So, atong i-transpose ang sine sa pikas. So, pag transpose nimo na sa pikas, na kay cosine squared is equal to 1 minus sine squared. Then, get the square root for both sides. And then, you'll get cosine, no, cosine is equal to the square root of 1 minus sine squared. Okay. So, na natin inana, no? Now, Since na-substitute naman nato na we now have the identity na. So, um, take note nga nung negative man ni siya di ari. So, yung ganung negative man yung cosine di ari, sir. Na negative na siya because it is in the second quadrant, no? So, ang second quadrant nato sa atong Cartesian plane, remember na to nga negative jud perminti yang x, di ba? Sa quadrant 2. So, since negative yang x or negative yang cosine, therefore, nagbutang tag negative di ari. So, muna yung importance sa pag um, uh, identify, no? Or like pag-determine kung unsay gihatag nga condition sa atong problem. Okay? So now, all you have to do is to substitute the value lang. Since na naman tayo uh, sign of t di ari, natay sign of t. So we will just replace it with 3 over 5 and then ato siyang squared because sine squared man ang gibutang di ara. So that will be the negative square root of 1 minus um, 3 over 5 squared. And then pag simplify, you'll get negative 4 over 5. So check na ang ato ang check na ato ang cosine of t, no? Next is check naman pud ato ang sine of t, di ba? So all you have to do now is to find sine of 2t and cosine of 2t. So sa ato ang identity di ari magamit na nato siya. So dara atong identity, sine of 2a is equal to is equal to 2 sine of a multiplied by the cosine of a. So all you have to do is to replace the values. So copy lang ang 2. Atong sine of t is 3 over 5. And then ang ato ang cosine is negative 4 over 5. So simplify na to sila. You'll get the final answer of negative 24 over 25. So that is for your sine of 2t. Next, atong cosine of 2t. How do we get that? We get that from this identity, no? Nata identity diari. Wherein magamit na to siya if missing ang cosine of 2a, no? So, missing ang cosine of 2t na to, and then naman tayo sine of t. So, we can easily replace it. So, ito siya i-replace. That will be 1 minus 2 times sine squared t. So, atong sine t ani is automatically 3 over 5. And since naka-squared man na siya, therefore, ato po siyang squared. Okay? So, now you'll have 1 minus 2 times 3 over 5 squared. Simplify it and you'll get the final answer of 7 over 25. So, nanara pagkuha sa tuwang sine of 2t and cosine of 2t using the double angle identities for sine and cosine. So, mo-proceed tanong sa itong second example, which is to derive an identity from for sine of 3x in terms of sine x. So, saan din natin siya? So, we can do this by um, um, using some identity for sine, the double angle identities for sine and cosine, and the Pythagorean identity. So first, ang ato sang sine of 3x. So unsaon man nato na siya para magamit nato ang double angle, no? So unsaon nato na siya nga naatay 2a or like 2x. Saon nato na siya? So remember nga ang ato ang 3x can become 2x plus x, di ba? It can be written as 2x plus x. So therefore, naatay sine of 2x plus x. So which is just equal to sine of 3x, no? So now, as you can see, natay sine of 2x plus x, di ba? Familiar man nga identity. You can find this identity sa atuang sum identities, no? So dara siya, atuang sum identities, which is sine of a plus b is equal to sine of a okay, times cosine of B plus cosine of A times sine of B. Muna siya tong sine sum identity. Now, if we are to write this identity kani, so di ba sa formula nato gi-write man di adto nga ato ang uh, sine of A plus B, A plus B. Wait lang ako siya i-write sa dako nga board. If na kay daray sine of A plus B, ang equal daw niya is the sine of A multiplied by the cosine of B. So ang sine A na to, that is the first angle, while ang ato ang B is the second angle. And then ang next na to is um, cosine of A multiplied by the sine of B. So if naatay kuan sine of 2x plus x di ari, so dara no. Natay sine of 2x plus x. So unsaon man nato na siya? All you have to do is to simply copy this one by just replacing 2x sa A o x sa B. Okay? So itong sine A will become sine of 2A, sine of 2x I mean. Atong cosine of B will become cos of x plus cosine of A. So that will be cosine of 2x. And then atong sine of B will be sine of x. So muna siya ang atuang ma-transform niya, no? Ma-derive na rin nato siya. So that's why nahimo siyang sine of 2x multiplied by cosine of x plus cos of 2x multiplied by sine x. Okay. So after that one, ato na siyang um, ma-transform na to na siya, no? By using our Pythagorean identity ra siguro gyapon or ato ang cosine dai. Cosine identity. So atong sine of 2a diari. Sine of 2x dai. Atong sine of 2x is just 2 sine A ug cos A. So 2 sine x cos x dara. 2 sine x cos x copy lang ang cosine. Okay? And then atong cosine of 2x diari mahimo siyang 1 minus 2 sine squared of A. Tara. So 1 minus 2 sine squared of x lang siya. Kay ganong gi-sign man mo sir because we are solving for sin x. Dari duha ma identities niya sa uh, other identities atong cosine. So pwede na to siya i-replace, di ba? So mo ni siyang nainani ni ang atong identity sin atong gipili, no? Because we are asked to find or solve in terms of x o sin x. So now, ang gibuhat diri sa next step is gi-distribute ang cosine squared, no? Ang cos dai. So gi-multiply siya. So 2 sin x multiplied 2 sin x cos x multiplied by cos x, you'll get 2 sin x cos squared x. So ang cosine nato nahimong siyang squared, no? Plus, so plus ato ang gi-distribute ang sin diari. Ato ang gi-distribute. So tong 1 will become sin x. Atong 2 sin squared x will become 2 sin cube x. Okay. So gamay na lang. So since naa pa man gyapon tay cosine squared di ari, naa gyapon tay cosine squared. So unsaon mo nato na siya pagtangtang? Atong cosine squared, remember na to atong identity, no? As you can recall, atong identity is cos squared plus sine squared is equal to 1. And since we are solving in terms of sin x, so we are going to what do you call this? Ato ang ay no, no, atong sign diri ang ato i-transpose, no? Atong sign atong i-transpose. Kay aron ang cosine masubstitutan nato. So since atong cosine squared x is just equal to 1 minus sine squared x. So muna siya. So nanatay 2 times the sine of x multiplied by 1 minus sine squared x plus sine x minus 2 sine cube x. Now, after this, tong buhaton ani niya is i-distribute ta puning sine of x, no? So, more on distribution lang gini siya. So, pag distribute nimo siya, let's say for example, given lang tapad na lang na siyang 2 sine x, no? So, dili na maugay sa ang 2 nga nasa ulahi sa sine ug ang 2 nga tapad sa x. Lahi na sila nga identities ha. Dili na sila parehas. So, if ang 2 gani is before siya sa ato ang kuan, before siya sa atong trigonometric identity, that means it is a multiplier. Okay? Multiplier na siya sa mismo nga identity. But if tapad siya sa x, that means it is a multiplier for the angle. Okay? So ana na siya ang difference nilang duha. So be careful in writing ha. So now, let's distribute. So atong distribute ang 2 sine x. So you'll get 2 sine of x and then distribute po nimo ni siyang 2 sine x diari, you'll get negative 2 sine squared x plus sine x minus 2 sine cube x. Sine cube x. Ay wait, kani day siya day pag multiply mo sa 2 um 2 sine x sa atong negative sine squared x, mahimo na din siyang sine cube na siya. Kay sine times sine squared man. So sine cube na siya. Now, to simplify, simple addition na lang siya, no? We will just combine the like terms lang. So, ang like terms ani are those which have the same squares or like exponents, I mean. So, if same like exponents, so kani siya ang same og exponents kani og kani. So, if ato siyang i-add, negative 2 minus negative 2, you'll get negative 4 sine cube of x. And then kani 2 sine x plus sine x, you'll get positive 3 sine x. So that's why nakuha ni nato siya as our final answer. Okay? So let's proceed, no? Another identity is for the tangent double angle identity. So we have there um, tan of 2a is equal to 2 tan a divided by 1 minus tan squared a. So muna siya itong tangent double identity from 2a po di ari, a na lang po na nabilin. But ang imuhang angle di ari will be divided by 2. Okay? So a over 2 na siya. Since di ari a man di ari a over 2 na. Okay? So muna siya sa itong half angle identities for sine and cosine. So now we are asked to find the exact values of sine of 22.5 degrees and cosine of 22.5 degrees. So unsa day ilang exact values, no? Okay. So for our solution, it clearly um 22.5 degrees lies in quadrant 1. And so sine of 22.5 and cosine of 22.5 are both positive. Kay nganong quadrant 1 man? Because atong sine ug atong cosine are both positive, di ba? Ang quadrant niya na ay positive for both coordinates is ang quadrant 1 lang man, di ba? So, ang ato ang angles ani is both positive and it lies in quadrant 1. So, and 22.5 is half angle of 45 degrees. So, half angle daw siya sa atong 45 degrees. So, unsaon man na siya. So, since half angle siya, atong gamitan og formula. So, atong formula diri is this. Ang gibuhat ng ani niya is square root ang both sides. Gigat ra ang square root for both sides, no? So, pag get sa square sa both sides, kaning squared ani ma-cancel, but kaning radical sign, mag-remain siya sa right side. Okay? So, atong cosine of a over 2 will just be 1 plus cosine of a divided by 2. Atong sine squared, mahimo na lang siyang sine of a over 2, which is equal to 1 minus cosine of a over 2. So, dara. Since ang 22.5 is the half angle man, muna ang a over 2, no? Muna ang a over 2, guys. But dire, muna ang a, di ba? Kaya ang a over 2 is 22.5. It is half of 45. So, that's why muna ang a. So, 1 minus cosine of 45 over 2, you'll get the square root of 1 minus the square root of 2 over 2 divided by 2. So, for those of you who don't know how to get this, natay calculator, no? Atong calculator, ano yung gamiton na nato ni siya in finding coordinates, no? Let's say, for example, cosine of, dara ang butang diri is cosine of 45. So, cosine of 45, it is equal to the square root of 2 over 2. Okay. So, muna na sa diara. And then, simplify na lang dayon nato using our calculator. But, in this case, pwede na to siya buhato, no? Pwede na po nato siya i-solve diari diretso, no? So, if you have there the square root of, wait lang ha. Tira, muna siya itong calculator, no? Muna ito ang buhato na atong calculator. So, kani siya, ito na i-press. Okay. Okay, under the square root, sorry. Ano po siya i-delete? Okay. Okay, the square root of this. Okay, yan na. So, 1 minus cosine of 45. So, you'll have 1 minus the cosine of 45 degrees all over 2. So, nanatay na, no? So, if ato siya i-calculate, you'll have 0.38, no? Muna siya ang atuang, what you call this? Muna siya atuang decimal, no? Atuang decimal na value for this one. Okay? So, diari, we have the square root of 1 minus square root of 2 over 2 over 2. Okay. So, pag simplify na to, you will get the square root of 2 minus the square root of 2 divided by 2. So, ato daw i-try og input sa calculator if mao ba gyud ang mogawas. Okay? Ato i-try og input. So, naata diari, okay, the square root of 2, okay, minus the square root of 2 over 2. So, pila equal? Di ba same ra sila? Di ba? Same ra sila. So, inaana ra pag input nato sa calculator, we can do it directly lang pod. Okay? Next, sa atong cosine na. So, dili siya pareha, no? Kaya ang sa sign nga identity, negative ang cosine. Tara, negative siya. But sa atong cosine nga identity, it is a positive 1. Okay? So, if ato siyang i-try og input sa calculator, diretso na ni. Calculate na lang ka diretso. So, na kay the square root of, wait. Okay. Mhm. Wala naman yung gana ang calcu. Tara day. So, the square root of 1 plus 1 plus the cosine of 45 divided by 2. Okay, pag input mo sa calculator na, you'll have 0.9238. Okay? So, anaon na nato siya pag-solve, no? So, proceed ta. Itong tangent half angle identities, there are 4. So, don't worry guys. You don't have to memorize this because I will just be giving this PowerPoint presentation together with the um, unit circle, no? O ato ang trigonometric identities. Okay? So, ana lang. Let's proceed lang. So, we have an example. Find the exact value of tangent of pi over 12. So, ang tangent of pi over 12, atong gigamitan og formula, no? Atong formula is, ang gigamit atong formula is this. Tara. Since ang tangent of pi over 12 is half of pi over 6, di ba? Half raman na siya. Therefore, um, ato na siyang uh, input, no? So, ato na siyang i-input. So, we'll have 1 minus cosine of pi over 6. So, as indicated sa atong formula, diari 1 minus cosine of A. So, that will be 1 minus cosine of A. So, atong A is not the half angle, no? Kung siya ang original nga angle. Kaya atong half angle is this. This is A over 2. And this is A. Okay, no? So, now, pag-solve na to, you have there 1 minus cosine of pi over 6 divided by sine of pi over 6. So, itong cosine of pi over 6, para cosine of pi over 6. Atong cosine dara, ang x niya, which is the square root of 3 over 2. Square root of 3 over 2 lang muna siya. Mo itong substitute diari. Ang atuang sine of pi over 6 is atong sine sa pi over 6 kani, which is 1 half. Okay? So, 1 half siya dara. And then, pag atuang simplify, you'll have 2 minus the square root of 3. So, di na mo i-bother sa details ani because um kuha naman ni siya sa elementary ra ninyo nga math, no? Manipulating of denominator and numerator lang man na siya. Simplifying. Okay? So, let's proceed sa atong next nga topic, no? Let's proceed sa atong next nga topic, no? We have there we have there uh, trigonometric functions. So, the solutions of trigonometric equation. So, any equation that involves trigonometric expression is called a trigonometric equation. Okay. So, recall that a solution or a root of an equation is a number in the domain of the equation that, when substituted to the variable, makes the equation true. So, the set of all solutions of an equation is called the solution set of the equation. So technically, the basic method to show that a particular number is a solution of an equation is to substitute the number to the variable and see if the equation becomes true. So, di na mo get sa details and diretso na solve sa to examples, no? So, we have there 6 examples. The first one is the sine of x is equal to 1 half. So, ato ang i-determine, no? So, they given ato, no? Gitagatag choices, oh, which numbers in the set of are these angles are the solutions of the following equations. The sine of x is equal to 1 half. So, sa ano to siya pag-get, no? So, siya pagkuha. So, ito yung determine nga. Asa siya i-determine kung asa siya nag-quadrant, nag-lie. Asa siya dapit nga quadrant. So since ang sign niya is positive, so if ato siyang lantawon sa sa tuwang unit circle, no, itong sign is positive. So ang sign di ari nga positive is in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, di ba? Kaning take note sa atong red nga coordinates, no. So positive man sila, di ba? So it lies either in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2. Now, we recall that pi over 6 is an obvious solution. So we may imagine that the y is equal to sine of x. We may also use the idea of reference angle. Thus, among the choices, only pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6 are the only solutions for sine of x, which is equal to 1 half. So basically, no, ato orang gi-identify di ari kung unsa nga sign ang naay 1 half, no, sa tuang unit circle. So if imo siyang lantawon di ari kung unsa di ang naay positive 1 half lang, kani naa diri, di ba? Naapod siya di ari. Di ari negative man, di ari negative pod. So dili na pwede. Ang naara is positive lang siya for both quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. So now, after that, since nakuha naman nato silang duha, no, it's in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, all you have to do is to identify the angle. Okay. So, ang angle na to is pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6. So, mo na siya nga to ang angles, no? Sa atong unit circle, which contains 1 half as their sign. So, ana lang. Next, the tangent of x is equal to 1. Tangent of x is equal to 1. So, since tangent of x is equal to 1, which is greater than 0, so any solution of the equation among the choices must be in the interval of 0 and pi over 2. So, nara siya sa interval of 0 and pi over 2. From 0, pi over 2. So, it's in the first quadrant lang. So, again, among the choices, only solution has tangent of x, which is equal to 1, which is um, pi over 4. No? So, pi over 4 lang ana. Ang anong pi over 4 man, sir? So, remember na to, nga atong pi over 4 is a very special angle because ang linya sa pi over 4 kay same ra sila og coordinates sa iyang sine og cosine. Only that, mag-differ lang siya as you move to the next quadrants, no? So, ato ang pi over 4, square root of 2 over 2, og square root of 2 over 2, dari ma negative na, dari ma both negative, dari ma negative ang isa. So if in ana, if divide a number by itself, automatic 1 imong answer, di ba? If i-divide mo by itself, 1 yun na siya. So, it's obviously in 45 degrees or pi over 4. So, muna siya. Next is, the given equation is equivalent to the second which is equal to negative 2 square root of 3 over 3. So, among the choices, so, ang second, no, atong uh, second is equal to 1 over cosine. Diba? If ato siyang i-recall, 1 over cosine siya. And take note nga, naman siya negative di ari, no? Na siya negative di ari. So, if na siya negative di ara, nagpasabot di ay nga, it can't be in quadrant 1 and also quadrant 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 1 lang and quadrant 4 di ay. Okay. So di siya pwede sa quadrant 1 or quadrant 4. So atong pilian is quadrant 2 and quadrant 3. Now, kung saan mo pag-identify sa iyahang um saan mo pag-identify sa iyahang second. So saan man na siya. So sa previous na to nga lesson, di ba? Ari Lahi dito, lahi dito. Okay, okay. Lahi dito, lahi. So, ato siya manumanuho, no? Para mag-gets ninyo. So, ay two sets diri. It's either if ang x is 1/2, then square root of 3 over 2. Since di man ta pwede mo gamit itong square root of 2 over 2, o square root of 2 over 2. Or ang x na to kay square root of 3 over 2 and 1/2. So, obviously, if atong cosine is 1/2, automatic na atong second ani will just be 2 because inverse raman sa 1/2 or like ang reciprocal raman sa 1/2. So, that is just 2 lang. But in this one, if ato siyang i-get ang iyahang ano, if atong i-get ang iyahang reciprocal, so you'll have 2 over square root of 3. I-multiply na to siya og square root of 3 over 3 kaya ato man siya i-rationalize. So pag multiply na to natay 2 of square root of 3 over 3, diba? So since negative man na siya. And ang choices na to is kaning pi over 6 raman siya, di ba? Makita na to negative nga square root of 3 over 2. So therefore, atong i-pick ani is ang 5 pi over 6. Since mura man ang naasa, ato ang given na options. Next, quadrant 4, we have a cotangent of the square root of 3. Cotangent of x is equal to 1. Okay, unsaon mo na siya? So, eliminating the absolute sign. So, the given equation is equivalent to cotangent of x, which is equal to the square root of 3 over 3, or cotangent of x is equal to negative square root of 3 or over 3. So, giunsa man na sa pagkuha. So, paano sa pagkuha, no? So, aning two choices na po nato. Either kaniya maguna or kaniya maguna. So, if 1/2 ang maguna, naa siya sa pi over 3, no? Naa siya sa pi over 3. Kani pi over 3 na siya. Kani ang pi over 6. So, ato dong i-try sa pi over 6 daw. If cotangent siya, therefore, square root of 3 over 2, no. I know na the answer na. Dili na sa pikas. Square root of 3, okay. Cosine may mag-una, no? Cosine ang mag-una. So, cosine is 1/2 over square root of 3 over 2. Now, we'll get the numerator multiplied with the reciprocal of the denominator. So, pag multiply nimo, you'll get, makancel man na siya, na kay 1 over square root of 3. Imo siyang i-multiply with square root of 3 over square root of 3. So, you'll get the square root of 3 all over kaning square root of 9, which is just equal to 3. Okay, nana kay cotangent. But since ang gibutang diri is negative man na siya. So asa man na siya negative. But ang choices di ari, so pi over 3 din siya, no? So dapat nasa ilalom ang pi over 3, ang 3. Choices diri kay pi over 3 og 2 pi over 3, no? So duha ka buk given. So among the choices, the only solution of cotangent of x is pi over 3, while the other equation has 2 pi over 3. Thus, the only solutions of the square root of 3 times the cotangent of x is equal to 1 from the given set are square root of 3, pi over 3 and 2 pi over 3. Nganong gi-appeal man ang pi over 3 nga negative man unta na? It's because of the absolute value. So, if atong absolute value i-input atong negative di ara, pag gawas sa pag-remove na to sa absolute value ma-positive man gyapon siya. So dili ra gyapon matter. That's why we chose pi over 3 and square root of 2 pi over 3. Next, second to the last na example, you have second squared of x minus tangent squared of x is equal to 1. So it's obviously a what do you call this? It's obviously a Pythagorean identity, no? So itong basihan di ari, mo ni siya, di ba? Second squared of x minus dara. So ura ra siya gi-transpose ang tangent squared of x diri sa pikas, no? Ana ra. Ura ra gi-transpose sa pikas. Wait. Positive mo na siya. Lagi. Ura ra gi-transpose sa pikas. So now, unsaon man na siya? Unsaon man to pag-find ana niya? So the given equation is one of the Pythagorean identities. So it means that all numbers in the domain of the equations are solutions. And the domain of the equation is the cosine of x, which is equal to 0. Thus, all except pi over 2 are solutions. Okay. So ang atong buhaton ani is like kung unsa ra ang naay cosine of 0. Kung unsa naay cosine of 0. Kung cosine of 0 ani is kaning 3 pi over 2, no? Og pi over 2. Except pi over 2. Ah, ah, all except pi over 2. Okay, so mo na siya tong domain, no? So all except pi over 2. Walay apil ang pi over 2 na to di ari. Okay? Last na tong example is this. So for the sum diri sin x plus cosine of x is equal to 0, no? Now, for the sum of sin x and cosine of x to be 0, they must have an equal absolute values but different signs. So, if ato ang sign daw, if if we put it this way, ako siyang i-write di ari ha. Ako siyang i-write di ari. Kay sin x plus cosine of x is equal to 0. So, if imo siya i-transpose na kay sin of x which is equal to negative cosine of x. So, gapasabot na atong sin x daw kay equal na daw siya sa negative cosine of x, which means duha ra sila kabuok, similar ra sila og values but different og signs, di ba? So unsa man ang same og values dari, di ba? Obviously kanina ay pi over 4, okay? Square root of 2 over 2 man ang duha sa cosine og sine, no? But since negative man yang cosine, so negative yang cosine, this would mean nga 3 pi over 4 imong answer. Kay negative man imong cosine, then positive ang sign. Diba? So, ana lang. So, dara. So, among the choices, only 3 pi over 4 satisfies these properties and it is only the solution of sine x plus cosine of x is equal to 0. So, that's all guys. Thank you and God bless.